Hello golfers, Bryan Pate here. I want to talk to you about balance in the setup as well as throughout the golf swing. So I have a bunch of different options here on the ground. What I'm going to do is take my golf club, put it across my thighs. If I was just standing up, straight up and down on the ground, where does it feel like you're balanced? Does it feel like you're balanced more on the toes, more on the heels, or somewhere in the middle? So that's a good drill you could do is rock forwards, feel more pressure on the toes, more pressure on the heels as I rock backwards. And as I go to the middle, I feel like I can stand here nice and balanced. So on the ground in front of me, I have a pool noodle on the ground. If I put my feet kind of underneath my hips and stand on the pool noodle, I could rock forwards, touch my toes on the ground, rock backwards, touching my heels on the ground, and then slowly move forwards to kind of find the balance point. So this is going to be a little stress on the system, trying to figure out how to balance on this pool noodle. Now the noodle's thicker, so it's going to be easier to rock from heel to toe, but it might give you that awareness of where your pressure feels in your shoes, in your feet, somewhere in the body. It might feel like your nose is more out in front of your toes. If I was on the front side of the alignment rod, if I was back on the heels or on the back side, the pool noodle, might feel like my nose is more in the middle of my feet. So you're just trying to find some awareness, what it feels like to be pretty neutral right there. So if I take my golf club now, and I'm going to slide it down my thighs and then let the arms hang outwards, now can I have some of the same awareness? So there's my heels, there's my toes, and now I'm trying to find the balance in the middle. So you can see my feet are highly active. My core is being engaged because I'm stressing the system standing on this pool noodle. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and move that out of the way. Then I also have this Balance Rod Pro from Eyeline. A little smaller, but I could do the same thing. It's going to just give me some of that feeling in my feet, through my shoes. I could put both my toes and my heels on the ground while compressing this tool. There's my club on my thighs. As I hinge over, let it hang, do I still feel like I'm balanced on the rod? I could take our little weighted instrument here, the RMT club, just let it hang out in front of me as I hinge forwards. The club's hanging out more towards my toes. And there's my heels, toes, middle. Okay, what does that feel like to be balanced? So here, what I did was I took another pool noodle, cut it in half lengthwise, and also cut it in half circular wise. So I have a half circle here. So it's going to give me the same feels of where my pressure's at. So now let's talk about how the pressure moves throughout the swing. So at setup, I feel like I'm nice and balanced. You might even feel it set up just a little bit more towards the bottom of your shoelaces, a little bit more midfoot. If I was letting the club hang, I feel like I'm nice and balanced. In previous videos, we talked about how to get the club started, but from down the line view, there goes the club forwards. As I swing backwards, you can see as I went forwards, my heel actually lifted up a little bit, but I'm pretty cemented on my left foot, both toes and heels. As this swings backwards, the pressure is going to go from my midfoot, kind of in that area. As it swings backwards, now it's going to feel like it moved a little bit more towards the heel, but my whole foot's on the ground. I haven't necessarily moved everything into the heel and lost connection with my toes. So if I do that again, club's out in front of me, move a little bit forwards, the right heel lightened up just a little bit. As it swings backwards, now the whole right foot is planted on the ground. Feels like I'm smashing this pool noodle down into the ground with my right foot. Once we get it up to the top, and we start to transfer the energy to the lead foot, I feel like the pressure is more on my left toe on the downswing. And coming into impact, it feels the same like it did on the trail foot. Now it feels like my toes are involved and my pressure moved towards the heel. But on the trail foot, you can see that the trail heel is starting to lift up. So my right heel is starting to lift up and pressure's on my right toes. So if I walk through that again, as it swings back, pressure goes from more the ball of the foot on the right shoe towards the heel, but doesn't go all the way into the heel. As I start my little transition left, it goes from ball of the left foot to the heel of the left foot as I swing through. So the feet, what they're doing is pedaling. So forward swing, or before I'm going to take the club away, might feel like more my left foot's on the ground, right toes in the ground. As it swings backwards, the pressure's going to go more towards my right heel and towards my left toes. As I start the downswing, it goes back to flat. As I come through, it goes more towards my right toe and towards my left heel. So what we could do is hit some golf balls with these ideas. I also have an alignment rod in my hands. I could put the alignment rod on the ground. I could just have the pool noodle on the ground. But if I go to my setup position, kind of hinge forward, feel the club out there just barely above the ground, so I'm supporting the weight of the club. Does it feel like I'm balanced at setup? What I'm going to do is move the golf ball wherever that club hangs to. I don't want to try to reach for the ball because you can see I'm going to fall forwards. I don't want to feel like I have to pull everything in because you can see I rock backwards. So I'm going to find that nice balanced setup in there. I'm going to move slowly to have the awareness of what the ball is doing and what the balance is doing between my feet. So here's a good little way of running through some awareness indoors. You could also do this outdoors. But how do you just start with some awareness of where your pressure is, where your balance is in the body? How do you stress that with, say, a pool noodle with an alignment rod? You can picture the same thing on the alignment rod. If I was standing on the alignment rod, maybe I'm just picturing my pressure being more on top of the alignment rod versus towards my toes or my heels on the alignment rod. But just using the awareness and some feedback of what that feels like in the body, what it feels like in the feet, and go slow enough where you can process that through the motion to get feedback. Once you have the motion going, you could speed it up slowly over time back to a full speed, getting that sequence of the pressure moving in the correct order from toes and heels, as well as working on your setup.